move on to secrets, and what you can find, because I think the game is very good. And the reason why I want to go over it is because, with what I do, I travel. I travel a lot, and we go into particular spots that the public wouldn't normally have, access to, and a lot of the places are usually, abandoned warehouses or abandoned buildings where we can conduct our work. And so if you're in, you go to work 9 to 5 or whatever, you're on a particular highway, yes, you travel or whatever, but most of your existence is within, a geographical limitation that we put on ourselves as far as where we live. And, going into the city is a half an hour away. We're not out, because, in Fallout 76, we're in a post-apocalyptic world. You're forced to travel. You're forced to go through the woods. You're forced to, go, explore places that in the normal world and in our world now we just wouldn't do. So why I bring up what I do is because there are places in Massachusetts and all over the country that you'd be like, wow, I didn't even know this was going on. And that's one of the clever things that Fallout 76 does, is because now that nothing's like heavily guarded by security guards, and most doors are open, and that's how I would assume that let's go, baby. That's how I would assume the apocalypse would operate as well, as far as being able to have access to much more than you would now. You finding, again, the reason why I bring this up is because we were at an abandoned military complex, and when something's abandoned and you can freely walk around, there's nothing dangerous around there, and there's certainly no like confidential material or anything like that you're going to stumble upon. But even just seeing the architecture of the place and being able to imagine how people conducted themselves in this space, how the architecture kind of influenced that, how they viewed and treated their soldiers. And I'm not talking about any evidence of mistreatment or anything. I'm just saying the architecture itself lends itself to how behavior was designed in that space. You had to walk through a foyer, or you had to you were bunked in close quarters and small quarters, and the cafeteria was built a certain way for it to function a certain way. And and that's what I mean. And there's a couple, like the Whisper, the golf course that's around here is supposed to be some kind of like government secret government facility. And I'm not even getting into that kind of stuff. I'm not getting into like the CIA conducting experiments or anything like that. But it is amazing, once you start exploring even the world that you live in. And I'm talking, just the world is what I mean by that is, again, our geographical limitations that are self-imposed. Even when you start exploring that stuff, you run into something that you never would have thought existed, like I never knew that this used to be a dumping site. That's kind of weird. Or you go through the woods, there's like 7 or 8 abandoned cars that people used to throw their cars out there at a particular time in history. Or people used to camp in a certain area that they don't camp in anymore. Or there's a lot of places, even where I grew up, where companies were accused of dumping into bodies of water, like lakes and stuff, and polluting it or something. You know, there's places on the map right now that, and I'm talking about our map. Oh, there we go, Nuka-Cola Quantum. You know, Google Maps or whatever, that, you know, these places are undiscoverable on Google Maps for a reason, you know. So, you know, you're not going to get there, you know. Thinking that, you know, there's, you know, military bases that, you know, are on Google Street View is not correct. So, and the reason why I'm here at Nuka-Cola is because, you know, again, because there's no security and you have access to, you know, offices and stuff like that. You can see, you know, what was going on. So people would come in here, they'd go to this computer, there'd be someone behind them. I would imagine that that's a, you know, one-way window, and they would conduct, you know, experiments on their new products, knowing quite well that, you know, some ingredients were not, let's say, FDA approved or whatever, you know. So, and this is something, again, when I say secrets, this is just something that, you know, nowadays you go into Disney World. I mean, you go in there for the rides and you see Mickey Mouse or whatever. In a post-apocalyptic world, you would have access to that. And I'm not saying there's anything going on at Disney World that's sinister or anything, but you would certainly have more opportunity to, you know, see what was going on as far as, oh, this is where they, you know, had one-way windows to see how new park goers were interacting with some new, I'm getting a lot of quantum, that's awesome, interacting with some new ride, or, yeah, see, this is the note. So I hope you can forgive me for this. I know we've had our differences over the years about methodology and R&D, but we've always agreed that marketing is an evil force in the Nuka-Cola world. I can't let them experiment on innocent bystanders. So that basically, that's what I'm talking about. So, you know, all of a sudden you would have access to even find this note, go behind here, see what people were doing. Oh shit, there's a death. So obviously they were monitoring people who were coming in, you know, tasting their products and yada yada. And you know, if in a post-apocalyptic Florida, Orlando, you know, you'd be able to visit the you know, there's underground tunnels where, you know, Mickey Mouse is able to take his mask off. And, you know, I know this because I've known some people to intern at Disney World. And again, the underground tunnel system is not some sinister plan or whatever, but, you know, who knows what rooms are off of there. And again, you know, who knows if there is, you know, data collection to see how people are interacting with the ride, or whether or not it's successful, and whether or not, you know, they're testing out a new product that, you know, just trying to see if it's a successful product. But, you know, again, that you'd still go in there and find out something that you never would have thought Disney was doing, maybe. How many bobby pins we got here? And that's the interesting thing. I mean, that's again, that's what the post-apocalyptic storytelling lends itself to, being able to, you know, take out all the immediacy of our present experience, and allow us to take a step back and say, oh, maybe that is, you know, something that's going on, or, oh, that's kind of interesting that they, you know, would set up shop, you know, deep at the edge of the, you know, the state, or, you know, that they were essentially experimenting with, you know, a technology that, if people knew about it, may, you know, speak up and say that's not right, or something like that. So, you know, again, that's just another element of, you know, certainly Fallout. It's why it's one of my favorite post-apocalyptic games, is because I think that they're very clever in being able to do that, you know, uncover, let's say, put in secrets or whatever, like here in Nuka-Cola, and do it with a, you know, a sense of humor. You know, there's nothing overtly serious about this stuff, but it's still, you know, a wealth of ideas that you might say, oh yeah, I mean, you know, I came in here once, I read that note, I think there was like a little quest or something like that, or I took the test here, And I thought it was very interesting, and I thought it at least made me think for a couple minutes, and then I was on to doing another quest or something like that. So I also enjoy that too. That it just stays committed to and loyal to just entertainment with ideas sprinkled in that again naturally come from a post-apocalyptic story, and then ideas that are infused into the story by the writers. So yeah, that's it with values and secrets. Thank you.